I wanted to do a video today just about the current situation in Melbourne. So I live in Melbourne, Victoria, and our restrictions have just been eased. So we're allowed to now see more people, more stores are open, like retail and restaurants and bars and like salons, and just everything is, yeah. So that all started yesterday, and I honestly thought I would be so excited the day that everything sort of went back to normal, but I found that like I had a bit of a shock to my system, and I thought that I would be like that because I hate change, and once I get used to a certain way of living for a few months, it's really hard when it changes again. So I thought that it was just my personality and that was something that I would have trouble dealing with. But I've been seeing on social media all day today that people are talking about freedom anxiety. So I had a little watch of this video, and this girl was explaining what is freedom anxiety and like how common is it. And she basically just explained that people who don't like change, or people that have been through a certain amount of events and they have to start living a certain way for a while, that becomes their new normal. And when it all of a sudden changes back, it's like a shock to the system. And I was just like, oh wow, like that's actually a thing. I thought it was just me, because yesterday when all the shops opened again, I went there just to like have some sort of normal routine again, and I was so overwhelmed with the amount of people that were in the shopping centre, and it just felt like odd. And it's so strange because the things that were so normal now feel really foreign to me, and I can't even believe that that's a thing. Like we've been trapped for so long, since like March, in our homes, not being able to see anyone, and now we've actually got our freedom back, and it's like I'm too scared to do it. It's just so weird how that works. And it was making me think of like probably times in history, or even in like people's lives where they may have been like kidnapped or taken against their will and held hostage for a while, and then they get used to their like environment and get used to their like hostage ways, where they have to like be isolated and away from everyone, and then they might, you know, become free after a few months of being found by the police or something, and they don't know how to go back to normal life. And I feel like this is sort of similar, and it's just so bizarre because I don't really like know how to fix it, and I should be so grateful, and I am so grateful, but it's like I'm so used to this life of isolation now that like I don't know what to do with myself. But another reason I wanted to come on here and talk was because, and I'm not trying to say this to feel like more, what's the word, superior to like anyone else, because everyone has gone through the coronavirus shock to the system, and everyone has had to deal with like hard times, like losing their jobs and stuff. But I just found that pretty much this entire year for me, probably even going back to like December last year, has been change after change after change after change, and I have had to deal with so much change that like I don't know if it's good or not. So if I can trace back, this is what has happened just in my life in the last almost year, and I can't even believe like all the things I've had to deal with. And I usually would feel too scared to say that, but I think considering what has happened to me and the changes that have happened to me, it feels good to talk about it, so I'm not always keeping it in, and obviously these are like my online journals. So if I start back from December last year, maybe even a little bit before December, that was when I found out that my dad had cancer. It started off not cancerous, and then it turned into cancer. So that was the first huge change. Coming to terms with the fact that my dad had this cancer that had spread to his bones and would eventually kill him, and I knew couldn't be cured. So then I had to get used to taking him to chemo and radiation appointments, and that became like my new normal, taking time off work to go and be with dad and look after dad. And then so then I was off work for a fair bit of time. My work was really flexible with allowing me to come and go as I was comfortable doing. And so my dad died in March, so I had barely even gotten used to the fact that my dad now had cancer and that he was on chemo, and that like he'd lost all this weight, his personality had changed. He was like dying basically, and then he did die, and it was such a shock to my system. And literally right after he died, this was when COVID just hit the world and started becoming a huge thing over here in Australia. And so then then everyone had like lost their jobs, and all of this like shops and everything closed down. I work in a restaurant, and that got closed down. So I had to get used to my dad having cancer, to then him dying, to then COVID, to then me losing my job. So that was like 4 significant things all within the space of like 3 or 4 months. And then it got to the point where pretty much everyone was off work for months. So I was here at home dealing with like a full day. Instead of going to work, I'd have to be here all day. And then not only that, I couldn't go anywhere, so I was stuck in my house like a prisoner, dealing with my dad's death, dealing with not having a job, and then trying to find something to do all day while grieving. And then the next massive change that happened was I found out I was pregnant. So I literally found out I was pregnant 1 month after my dad passed. So I found out, I became pregnant in April. I found out in May that I was pregnant. And then that just was like a whole nother thing of change. One, my hormones were completely up and down, so that was already heightening everything. I was still grieving dad, trying to just get through the day. And then I found out I was pregnant, so I had to start like getting used to growing a human inside of me. So I'm now 7 months pregnant. We've finally got this freedom back in Melbourne, and my work is reopening on Monday, and I'm so used to this life of just being at home, growing this baby with no stress of work, all this time relaxing, coming to terms with dad not being here, and now we're getting chucked back into the real world again. Like, we're allowed to go out and do stuff. I like have the ability to go and see my friends. I can go out for lunch, and these are all the things that I wanted. And now that I kind of have them back, I'm a bit scared to do them. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. Just one, to anyone else who's been feeling the same anxiety of going back to normal, particularly those who are living in Melbourne. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to show how I feel like my anxiety is even more magnified because of all of the other changes that I've had this year. And yeah, it's just bizarre. Like, it's nearly November, the whole year's nearly like over. And if it wasn't for these videos and like my diary and reading back over everything that's happened, yeah, it's just been a crazy year. So that's all I wanted to say. I just thought it would be interesting to see if anyone else was feeling this way, or if anyone else has had other changes other than the coronavirus. Because I'd be really interested to hear how have you dealt with it, 2, what were the changes that had happened in your life, and 3, are you going through this weird anxiety of things going back to normal, or is it just me? So yeah, this is a really short video, probably like the time limit that I try to get all my videos to be. And yeah, quick update, I am 28 weeks now, so 7 months pregnant. Trav and I have decided we're staying here for another roughly 6 months in this house, which means I can set up my nursery now. We will be moving later next year. We have decided to build a house, which was something we didn't want to do. We were always planning to renovate, and my dad and all of like his superannuation has just come through like to my brother and I, so I was able to use all of that for like a deposit. So even though he's not here, he's literally just been the reason I've been able to make all these cool changes in my life, all the positive changes. And so yeah, so that's another change I'm about to go through, owning my own home. That's a bit scary. Yeah, so that's about it, and hopefully I can set up my nursery and show you guys what it looks like next time.